My name is Shirley. Standing in my luxurious office, gazing out at the bustling city below, I can't help but recall that fateful family dinner. The room was filled with the same air of pomp and pretense as always. My father, a successful but arrogant businessman, raised his glass and said, "Shirley, you should take a leaf out of your brother Ethan's book. Stop slaving away at that ridiculous startup. You're just wasting your time." The room erupted in laughter, and I forced a smile. But then, out of nowhere, the dining room TV flashed on. The words on the screen were like a thunderbolt. Shirley Thompson, the secret billionaire behind TechShield Enterprises, revealed. Net worth, $11.2 billion. My mother's jewelry, encrusted fork clattered to the floor. Ethan's smug smile vanished, replaced by a look of pure shock. I stood up, pushed my chair back, and simply said, "Excuse me. My board is waiting." It's funny how life has a way of turning the tables. Looking back, I remember the many years I spent in Ethan's shadow. My parents, both social climbers in the upper-class circles of New York, always had their eyes on Ethan. He was the apple of their eye, the one they paraded around at parties and business meetings. Ethan got promoted again. My mother would coo at family dinners. Ethan's got a new insider deal in the stock market. In contrast, I was an afterthought. I was the one who had a passion for coding and technology from a young age. I vividly remember the day I brought home my first prototype of what would become TechShield. It was a simple circuit board, but I had spent weeks skipping meals and losing sleep trying to make it work. I was so excited. My hands were trembling as I showed it to my father. He gave it a quick glance, scowled, and said, "That's nice, dear, but you should focus on something more practical, like marketing or HR. You'll never make a real business out of that." Ethan, sitting in the corner with his expensive suit and designer watch, just laughed. Those small moments of dismissal piled up over the years. I started winning small grants in university technology competitions, and an angel investor once gave me a $20,000 check to start my business. The night my code first reached 1 million users in testing, I was over the moon. But I learned to keep these victories to myself. To my parents, I was still the naive girl with a pipe dream startup. To Ethan, I was the butt of his jokes. I used to question myself, thinking that maybe I was the problem. Maybe my dreams were too big and unrealistic. But then I would remember the countless nights in my tiny, cluttered apartment. The sound of my servers humming, the half-eaten takeout by my keyboard, and my blistered fingers from typing long into the night. I knew that success wasn't a matter of if, but when. Yet, family can be a powerful force of doubt. There was the annual society ball where my father introduced Ethan as the future of our family business, and me as the one who plays around with computers. I stood there with a glass of champagne, smiling through the pain. Another time, my mother cornered me at a charity event and whispered, "It's time to grow up, Shirley. Ethan can get you a proper job in his company. Stop embarrassing yourself with this startup nonsense." But every rejection was like fuel to the fire in me. While Ethan flaunted his connections and boasted about his office perks, I sat in my shabby, chic second-hand chair, building the business that would one day change the world. I didn't need my family's approval or applause. All I needed was the quiet of my workspace, the glow of my screen, and the feeling of getting closer to my goal. That fateful family dinner was just another in a long line of obligation dinners. I almost didn't go. I had several important business meetings lined up, including a potential acquisition in Asia. But my mother insisted, and a small part of me still hoped that maybe this time would be different. I walked into the grand dining room in a simple black dress, looking like a shadow compared to Ethan in his custom, tailored Armani suit, his diamond cufflinks glinting in the chandelier light. Before I could even sit down, the comparison started. "Look at Ethan," one of my father's cronies said. "So sharp and successful, just like his father." Then, my father raised his glass and said those familiar, hurtful words. But this time, something in me snapped. I smiled faintly, but inside, I was drawing a line in the sand. When the news broke on the TV, the room fell into a deathly silence. My mother's face paled, and Ethan stared at the screen as if he had seen a ghost. My father choked on his wine. I sat there, still as a statue, feeling a weight lift off my shoulders. All those years of hard work, doubt, and self-questioning were finally paid off. My CFO, Jake, burst through the door, holding a tablet with live market data. "Apologies for the interruption," he said, looking at the shocked faces around the room. "But Ms. Thompson, your company's valuation has just jumped to $11,800,000,000 after the market reaction. We're getting calls from Tokyo, London, and Paris." I stood up slowly, smoothing down the wrinkles in my dress. "Thank you, Jake," I said calmly. Then I looked at my family and the guests who had always looked down on me. "Excuse me, I have business to attend to." The sound of my chair scraping against the floor was like a victory anthem. I walked out of that room with my head held high, Jake by my side. I could feel their eyes on me, but I didn't turn back. The moment I stepped outside, my phone started buzzing non-stop. News alerts from all the major financial media flooded in. "The invisible billionaire revealed," the headlines read. As I got into the back of my limousine, Jake handed me the tablet. "We've scheduled a call with the Tokyo office," he said. "They're eager to finalize the acquisition deal." I nodded, looking at the soaring numbers on the screen. Meanwhile, my phone was filled with missed calls from my family. My mother left 10 messages, saying how proud she was and asking me to come home for dinner. My father called 12 times, talking about how we should work together. Ethan's voicemails were a mix of disbelief and panic, asking me not to cut off his company's chip supply. But I ignored them all. I spent the rest of the night immersed in work. I negotiated contracts, finalized deals, and by morning, TechShield was in a stronger position than ever before. The next day, the world was abuzz with news about me. Interviews, invitations from governments, and offers from private jet companies poured in. On the other hand, my family was in turmoil. I heard through the grapevine that my father's business partners were calling him, asking why he had never mentioned his daughter's empire. My mother's exclusive country club, which had rejected me 3 times, suddenly sent me a personal invitation. Ethan's company's stock started to plummet as investors realized that TechShield controlled the crucial chip supply his firm relied on. A few days later, they showed up unannounced at my office. From the 80th floor walled office, I watched them through the lobby cameras. My father was nervously adjusting his tie, my mother was clutching her designer handbag tightly, and Ethan was pacing back and forth like a caged animal. Jake came to my door and asked, "Do you want me to send them away?" I thought about it for a moment. It would have been so easy to just say yes, but I wanted them to see what I had built. When they entered my office, their jaws dropped. They stared at the rows of analysts, the walls of live market data, and the seamless operation of my company. Ethan's eyes widened at the global map on the main screen, showing our servers spread across the world. My father cleared his throat and said, "Impressive setup you've got here." I corrected him coolly. "It's not just a setup. It's the future of technology." My mother tried to soften the situation, saying, "Darling, we always wanted the best for you. We didn't mean what we said before. You know we love you." But her words rang hollow. Ethan finally lost his temper. "You're ruining my company. You can't cut off our chip supply. We're family." I looked at him calmly and said, "Business is business, Ethan. Isn't that what Dad always said?" He flinched, and I turned to Jake. "Send them the standard partnership documents. If they want supply, they'll have to pay the market price. No exceptions." A few days after that meeting, they came back. This time, they were even more desperate. My father walked in first, his confidence shaken. My mother followed, looking pale and nervous, and Ethan was a mess. My father finally said, "Surely we were wrong. We underestimated you. We didn't see what you were building, and now we need your help." I looked at him and said, "Wrong about what? That my startup was a joke? That I should have given up?" Ethan stepped forward, his voice cracking. "My company is on the verge of collapse. Without your supply chain, we're done for. Please, we're family." I repeated the word family softly. Where was the family when you all laughed at my dreams? Where was the family when you told me to quit and be like Ethan? My father looked down, unable to meet my eyes. I continued, "You've always told me that business is business." "Well, you were right. Tech Shield doesn't do favors, not even for family." The room fell silent and my mother whispered, "We're losing you." I shook my head.
No.
"You lost me a long time ago, when you decided my worth without even giving me a chance." Just then, Jake appeared in the doorway. "Ms. Thompson, the Chinese delegation is waiting for you." I nodded and turned back to my family. "This office, these people, this business is my family now. You don't have to understand it. You just have to accept it." I walked out, leaving them behind. The headlines about me kept coming for weeks. Shirley Thompson, the billionaire who revolutionized tech. Every time I saw those words, I thought about the years of doubt and hard work. But I was no longer angry. The silence I had endured and the success I had achieved were more powerful than any revenge. And I knew that they would never underestimate me again.